Have you ever wondered how being single for a long time can quietly reshape you? Whether it's by choice or circumstance, years without a romantic relationship leave their mark. You become more independent, more in tune with your needs, and often stronger in your sense of self. There's a quiet strength in standing alone, and for many that becomes a source of pride. But solitude also brings subtle changes. Over time, your routines harden, emotional walls build up, and the idea of letting someone in can start to feel foreign. Not because you've lost the ability to love, but because the space around your heart has grown still and safe. In this reflection, we'll explore 5 powerful ways long-term singleness affects you, mentally, emotionally, and socially. Some of these changes will serve you well, others may gently hold you back from deeper connection. The good news? Once you're aware of these shifts, you can choose which parts of yourself to protect and which to soften. Whether you're content in your solitude or considering love again, this journey of self-awareness can help you move forward with clarity and with heart. Let's begin. Number 1. You become more independent. One of the most noticeable changes that comes with long-term singlehood is a deepening sense of independence. Over time, you become your own compass, making choices freely, living by your own rhythms, and handling life's ups and downs without depending on anyone else for emotional or practical support. And in many ways, this is something to be proud of. Independence builds strength. It gives you confidence in your ability to stand on your own. You learn to trust yourself, to navigate the world on your own terms. You don't need someone else to validate you, to fill a gap, or to hold you up, and that's a powerful kind of freedom. But as with many strengths, independence can carry a quiet shadow. Because when you've lived for so long without needing to coordinate your life with another person, the idea of making space for someone new can feel unfamiliar, even inconvenient. Your routines become sacred, your quiet space becomes non-negotiable, and your way of doing things becomes the only way that feels right. No one to consult, no one to adjust plans for, no compromises to consider. Over time, that freedom can become so comfortable that the idea of partnership feels like an intrusion instead of a connection. Not because your heart has closed, but because the walls have grown thick in the name of peace, efficiency, and self-sufficiency. But let's be clear, independence is not the enemy of love. In fact, it's one of the most beautiful qualities a person can bring into a relationship. The real challenge is knowing the difference between being truly independent and being so set in your ways that you leave no room for anyone else. Relationships, after all, are not about giving yourself up. They are about making room for someone else's presence, for their needs, for shared decisions and mutual care. That takes flexibility, a willingness to stretch, to bend gently, not break. Imagine 2 people in their 60s. Both have spent years on their own. One remains open-hearted, still willing to share time, space, and even their favorite chair on the porch. The other, though kind and capable, has grown so attached to solitude that the idea of blending lives feels more like a burden than a blessing. Which one do you think would find it easier to build a lasting connection? The good news is this: if you recognize this tendency in yourself, it doesn't mean you're unfit for love. Quite the opposite, it means you're aware. And that awareness gives you the power to choose. You don't have to trade your independence for a relationship. The goal isn't to lose yourself, it's to grow alongside someone who honors who you already are. And when that kind of connection happens, it's not about giving anything up. It's about creating something new, together. Number 2. You may find emotional vulnerability more difficult. Another subtle, yet deeply human shift that often comes with long-term singleness is a growing discomfort with emotional vulnerability. When you've spent years without a romantic partner, you're likely used to carrying your emotional world quietly, privately. Your joys, your stresses, your disappointments, all handled inwardly with no one consistently there to ask, "How are you, really?" There's no steady presence checking in at the end of the day, no gentle hand reaching across the silence when life feels heavy. At first, you may not even notice it. But over time, you begin to build quiet walls, not out of fear or mistrust, but simply out of habit. And those walls, once useful for protecting your peace, can start to isolate you from the very kind of closeness your heart may still long for. You see, emotional vulnerability is not a personality trait. It's a skill. And like any skill, it needs to be practiced to stay strong. In a relationship, we're invited, sometimes nudged, sometimes drawn, to open up. To share not only our thoughts but our fears, our longings, our stories. We learn to say things like, "I'm struggling today," or "I could really use someone right now." These simple admissions build the foundation for real connection. But when you've been navigating life alone, that emotional muscle can go unused. You may grow uneasy at the thought of being seen in your rawness. You may hesitate to say, "I miss you," or "I need you," because you've gotten so good at not needing anyone at all. Sometimes, we even tell ourselves that we don't want or need that kind of connection anymore. But here's the quiet truth. Every heart, no matter how self-reliant, longs to be understood, to be met in our unguarded moments, to feel emotionally safe in someone's presence. The challenge is, when emotional vulnerability feels unfamiliar, we may unknowingly push people away, not because we don't care but because we've forgotten how to let them in. Imagine again two people, both strong, both capable, both single for many years. One chooses to stay open even if it feels awkward at first, willing to say, "I don't have it all figured out." The other has grown so practiced in silence that even the simplest expressions of feeling become difficult. Which one do you think is more likely to form a meaningful bond? This isn't about being emotionally open with everyone you meet. It's about recognizing that real connection requires emotional risk. And that risk, vulnerability, is not weakness. It is the doorway through which others can truly see you and love you. The good news? Vulnerability is a skill you can strengthen again at any age. You start small. A gentle truth here. An honest, "I could use some support there." With time, it becomes more natural, less scary, and a whole lot more freeing. Because when someone finally says, "You don't have to carry it all alone," and you let them, just a little, that's when something truly beautiful begins. If you're still here and this reflection resonated with you, I'd love to know. Just type number 2 in the comments below. It's a quiet way of saying, "Yes, this spoke to me." Your voice matters more than you know. And if you haven't already, I invite you to subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss the rest of this journey. We're building a space here for honest conversations, gentle insights, and encouragement that meets you exactly where you are. Your support helps us continue creating thoughtful, nourishing content, meant to uplift and inspire, one heart at a time. Now, whenever you're ready, let's move forward. Number 3. You build strong personal routines and habits. When you've been single for a long time, it's only natural that your life starts to orbit around your own rhythm. You build habits that serve you. You create routines that reflect your values, your energy levels, your moods. There's a kind of peace in that, knowing exactly what your days will look like, and feeling no need to negotiate with anyone about how to spend them. This kind of lifestyle can be deeply fulfilling. It offers a sense of order, autonomy, and clarity. But it can also quietly harden into rigidity, making it more difficult to welcome someone else into your world. Because the truth is, when we don't have to consider another person's needs or schedule for a long time, we can become very accustomed to doing things our way. We eat what we like, sleep when we feel like it, decorate and organize our space exactly to our taste. Even the smallest daily decisions, like what show to watch or when to go for a walk, become entirely ours. At first glance, this doesn't seem like a problem. And to be fair, there's nothing wrong with having preferences or structure. But relationships are built on shared time, shared space, shared life. And that often means compromise. What can feel like freedom when you're alone may, when a partner enters the picture, begin to feel like resistance. Not because you don't care, but because change now feels like a disruption. The routines you've carefully built for peace and comfort can unintentionally become walls that keep love at arm's length. Some people, without even realizing it, begin to view relationships as a loss rather than a gain. Why should I change the life I've worked so hard to build? They wonder. But maybe the better question is there room in this life for someone else to share it with me? Now, this isn't a call to abandon your habits or lose your sense of self. In fact, the stability you've created is one of your greatest strengths. But meaningful relationships do ask something of us. A willingness to adjust even just a little. To make space, to shift gently, to meet someone halfway. Imagine two people, both independent, both with well-established routines. One remains open to weaving their life with another's, seeing compromise not as loss, but as co-creation. The other clings tightly to their structures, viewing any change as an intrusion. Which one do you think will find love easier to sustain? The key isn't to give up who you are. The key is to stay rooted in yourself while still being soft enough to bend. To leave just enough space in your routines for someone else to step in, not to take over but to walk beside you. Because the life you've built, it doesn't have to shrink. It can expand. Number 4. You feel less pressure to be in a relationship. With time, something unexpected often happens when you've been single for a while. The urgency to find a partner begins to fade. You've learned how to be content in your own company. Your days are filled with purpose, routines you enjoy, friendships you cherish, interests that bring you peace. You no longer feel bound by society's timeline or expectations. In many ways, this is a beautiful evolution. Unlike the earlier chapters of life, where pressure to pair off and settle down often loomed large, you now realize that a fulfilling life doesn't require a romantic relationship. You don't need someone to complete you. You've learned to be whole on your own. But that deep sense of independence can slowly become something else. Something quieter, harder to notice. Sometimes, contentment drifts into complacency. You may find yourself avoiding the idea of dating altogether, not because you truly don't want connection but because the thought of change, of opening up, feels overwhelming. You might ask yourself, why put in the effort when I'm already fine on my own? And over time, fine becomes enough. Or so we tell ourselves. There's nothing wrong with choosing to remain single, if that's your truth and your peace. But if there's a part of you that still quietly longs for companionship, yet finds yourself turning away from opportunities to connect, that's worth a closer look. Ask yourself gently, have I become indifferent because I'm truly content, or because I've grown afraid to try again? Imagine two people, both single for many years. One remains open-hearted, welcoming love if it comes, without clinging or forcing. The other has built such a quiet fortress around their solitude that even when they crave connection, they no longer know how to seek it. Which one is more likely to experience companionship? The key lies in understanding the difference between peaceful solitude and protective isolation. One nurtures the soul. The other quietly limits it. Being comfortable alone is a strength. But letting that comfort harden into avoidance can mean closing the door on something beautiful before it has a chance to arrive. Remember this, relationships aren't here to fix us or rescue us. They're here to walk beside us. To enhance the life we've already built with care and intention. If your heart stays just a little bit open, you never know who, or what, might be waiting for you on the other side of that courage. If this reflection touched something in you, let me know you're still here. Just type number 4 in the comments. It's a simple way of saying, this speaks to where I am. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a good time to do so. Click the bell to stay connected. These conversations are here to support you, to offer insight, warmth, and the reminder that you're never alone in your journey. Thank you for being here. Let's move forward, together. Number 5. You may raise your standards, sometimes a little too high. One of the quiet effects of long-term singlehood is this. Over time, your standards become more refined. You grow clearer about what you want, and what you simply won't settle for. And in many ways, that clarity is a gift. When you've had time to live on your own, to reflect on your past relationships, to learn from what worked and what hurt, you gain a deeper understanding of yourself. You know what aligns with your values. You've established boundaries. And you've likely promised yourself that the next time you welcome someone into your life, it will only be someone who truly deserves to be there. That kind of self-respect is beautiful. It's hard-earned. And it matters. But like all strengths, it has an edge. Sometimes, without even realizing it, those high standards can become so specific, so polished, so idealized, that no real human can live up to them. You may find yourself unconsciously waiting for someone to arrive not just as a good partner, but as a flawless one. And in doing so, you might keep love at a distance, not because your standards are too high but because they've become too narrow. Think back to when you were younger, how relationships felt more like exploration than evaluation. There was curiosity, a willingness to grow together, to learn through the messiness. But now, After years alone, you might expect someone to fit seamlessly into your world from day one. Any red flag, any quirk, any imperfection might feel like a reason to walk away. You may not just be seeking a partner, you may be chasing an ideal. And that ideal? It can be built on subtle myths, effortless chemistry, perfect communication, immediate emotional connection. The kind of love that lives more easily in movies than in everyday life. But real relationships? They're different. They take patience. They require the willingness to sit with another person's imperfections, and let them sit with yours. They grow slowly over time. And they don't always look perfect at the start. So no, high standards are not the problem. In fact, they're healthy. They help protect your heart. But ask yourself gently, are these standards helping me find love, or are they quietly shielding me from it? Imagine two people, both single for years. One holds strong to their values but stays open, knowing that no one comes fully formed. The other seeks someone who ticks every box, every time, and as a result, never gives anyone a real chance. Who do you think will more likely find something lasting? The truth is, love doesn't come gift-wrapped in perfection. It shows up in small moments of understanding, in the grace we offer one another, in the willingness to be real, even when it's messy. So if you've been waiting, searching, hoping, and wondering why no one seems to fit, it may be time to ask, am I open to real connection? Or have I crafted a version of love that no one can quite reach? Sometimes, the person who truly belongs in your life isn't the one who meets every expectation. It's the one who brings peace to your heart, even in the ordinary. The one who makes you feel safe enough to try again. Final thoughts. As we close today's conversation, take a quiet moment to reflect on these 5 changes. Do any of them feel familiar? If you've been single for many years, chances are you've experienced at least some of these shifts. And while many of these changes are signs of strength, self-sufficiency, clarity, emotional resilience, it's also wise to notice when they begin to harden into walls that keep others out. Being single is not a problem to solve. It's a season, or even a life choice, that can be deeply meaningful. Many people find tremendous joy in a life lived independently. But if, deep down, a part of you still longs for love, then it's worth asking. Have I made room in my life for someone new? Have I let past disappointments shape too many of my expectations? Have I confused emotional safety with emotional isolation? The good news is that it's never too late to change, not who you are but how you relate. Whether it's softening your routines, practicing emotional openness, or simply saying yes to one small opportunity, each step opens the door a little wider. And the best part? The right relationship won't ask you to abandon your independence. It will celebrate it. It will simply invite you to share the life you've already built, with someone who brings their own fullness to the table. So if you've been wondering why love hasn't found you yet, maybe the question isn't, am I still lovable? But rather, am I still open to being found? Because love, true, grounded, soulful love, has a way of finding those who are gently ready to receive it. If this video touched you, I invite you to share your thoughts below. What's one thing that resonated with you today? What shift are you inspired to make? Your reflections mean so much, not just to us but to others walking this same path. Leave a comment, like the video, subscribe if you haven't, and don't forget to tap the bell so you'll be gently reminded when new reflections arrive. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content, to uplift, to guide, and to walk beside you one heartfelt step at a time. Thank you for being here. And until next time, take care of your beautiful, evolving heart.